Are you frustrated that you're not progressing in your Tai Chi practice? Or maybe you feel discouraged because your knees are sore after your practice. Hi, I'm Jenny Lu. In this video, we're going to correct a few common mistakes in Tai Chi so that you can get the most out of this healing practice and feel stronger and more stable. Make sure to stay until the end of the video to get a bonus tip too. Mistake number 1, knees over the toes. So say if we're taking a bow stance, which is the foundation for a lot of different poses in Tai Chi. So the wrong way to do this is that your knee is over your toes. So once we're in this position, you can already feel that the knee has more strain. The upper, the thigh area right here, you can feel it, right? So how do we correct it? For one is that you can sink your hips back a little bit until you get that front knee directly over your ankle, so the shin is perpendicular to the floor. This way there's a better support for the knee, less strain around the kneecaps. And then you can bend, you can soften the back knee and make your tailbone heavy. So drop the tailbone, so then the whole spine is in a more upright position, okay? And the other reason is also sometimes because the stance might be too short for you. So that's the other one that if you wanted to, let's say we're taking part of the wild horse's mane, and then if I don't take a big enough step, but I feel like I can still go forward, maybe this is what's causing this short stance and it's causing the knee pain, right? So the knee's over your ankle, knees is over your toes. So if you were to take a bigger step out and then you go into your part of the wild horse's mane, and then now you're in a much more stable position. So again, that's for you to practice. As you progress in your practice, your legs are stronger, you're gaining more flexibility, you can take a wider, longer step, okay? So mistake number 2 is that when we walk forward, right, in let's say part of the wild horse's mane, let me face you this side, okay? This mistake is that if I'm right here, I am taking a step. The wrong way is that because we're taking it slightly to the left side, the wrong way is that I've observed from my students that they tend to put their foot on a diagonal and then they're actually turning their torso a little bit more to that side. So that means your ankle, your foot, your knees are all going that way. But what we're supposed to do, if we shift back, even though my foot is slightly to the left side on a diagonal line, but I'm going to let my foot, because I'm going that way, the knee is going to align with the center of your foot, the second toes. And then when I go into this position, front foot is still tracking forward, that kneecap is still tracking forward. I can go into my part of the wild horse's mane with a much stable foundation and stable posture. Okay. Also check to make sure, if you have mirrors at home, it's really easy to check. Just to check to make sure your knee, your front knee is tracking over, right, the second toe. So you can kind of take a look. We use this in yoga as well. You want to try to make sure you're not collapsing the knee. So this happens, right? So when you feel like this way, again, we want the knee to be directly above the ankle if you can, to have the shin be perpendicular to the floor to protect your knee. And this is going to help you to strengthen your leg also, right? This is kind of collapsing the outer hip area, your outer thigh. The abductor is probably weak. So you're going to just really engage your legs, pressing down and feel the thigh muscle working to straighten your legs. So then this is going forward. Okay. So this is the second one. Make sure the direction is correct when you step out, and also center the kneecap lines up with the second toe. Mistake number 3 is over leaning the torso, right? Either in the front stance, back stance, or in the bow stance. So let's go over in ward off. or in grasp the sparrow's tail. So you're going to make your ward off. So we already know we corrected the first two mistakes. Now we know the knee is directly above the ankle, and then the center of the kneecap is tracking towards the second toe, right? So that part we already got. We have a nice foundation. So the next, right, mistake number 3 happens is that when we start to shift the weight, so instead of shifting the weight back, this can happen. I've observed this in class. So we might roll back, but actually leaning back. And then when we go forward, because we're pressing forward, we might press with the upper body. Okay, so we might go this way, right? So when we are withdrawing, we're also leaning back, and then pushing, we're pushing back. So as you can see, or when you're practicing, you can feel it, right? If you're really doing this, you're doing this part, you're leaning, you don't feel very stable. And also what we're doing when we're pushing, when you think of like pushing this way, you're actually using more of your upper body, but we have more strength in the lower body. So correct way is that we're going to try to keep the torso upright, trying to connect the top of the head, right? Your Bai Hui, acupressure point, or crown chakra in yoga, and then connect that all the way down to your perineum, or CV1, conception vessel number 1, or also called root chakra in yoga. So try to align those points so the energy is traveling straight, and then your tailbones drop slightly, so tailbone heavy, your core engaged, back knee a little bit bent. So we're going to keep that upright torso. We can still roll, right? So we're going to roll back from ward off, going to roll back. So instead of leaning, we're going to turn, move from the center, and press. You're pressing, but you're not leaning the torso, right? Torso's upright, so there's no strain in the back, no strain in the knee. Sometimes when we're pushing forward, we might strain the knee too, right here. And then when we're withdrawing, you're going to shift the weight onto the back leg. You can pull the arms back without you leaning your torso. So right here, sitting back instead of leaning back. And then when you're pushing, that power is going to come from your back foot, right? So that push is going to come from right there. So there's that connection from the heel of your palm to the back heel. And then your torso still staying upright this whole time. So upright torso. Okay, very good. And then taking your time, coming back. Mistake number 4, not pivoting the back foot when we're doing turning stances into ward off, into part of the wild horse's mane, or grasp the sparrow's tail. So let's say this is the wrong way. So if I were to turn my body, I make my bow stance. I see this sometime in my class too. So people are right here because their back foot is stuck on the ground. They're not pivoting. What happens is that pelvis is actually not able to turn to face the correct direction. Or the other one is that you want to try to turn because, right, you know this is where you're supposed to be facing, but because that foot is almost like glued on the ground, you're going to turn, and then your pelvis is turning a little bit. You're trying to turn your thigh bone, your femur, and then because the foot is not moving, you tend to add a little bit of twisting motion or torquing your knee, which is not good. It's just a hinge joint, right? So in order to protect your knee, what you're doing when you're taking your foot out, making your bow stance, you're going to pivot on the back ball of your foot. When you're pivoting right here, that foot is lighter. This foot takes a little bit more strength to help you to facilitate that turn, right? So you don't want that leg to be weighted. This is slightly more weighted, so you have that freedom to pivot, right? The hip joint can move. It's a ball and socket joint, but your knee joint is just, right? It's a stability joint. And then your ankle, it can turn a little bit. That's how we're going to do this. And you're going right here into your nice stable bow stance with the back heel grounded, and then your torso facing the correct direction, right? Facing the way you're supposed to face. And then you can feel your knee is correctly aligned. So if you look down, your toes are going that way. Your kneecap is also going that way. Okay, so it goes back to what we talked about before, your knees over the toes. Okay, always remember that. You could protect your knees that way. Very good. Here's your bonus tip. Be patient with yourself and your practice. Start with your stances higher and slowly lower as you gain more strength in your legs and more flexibility in your joints. Your practice time is your self-care time. So this is a time to focus on yourself, to improve your balance, coordination, and vitality. This way, we get to show up fully for our loved ones and what matters the most to us. To incorporate these tips we learned today so that these mistakes will not ruin your practice or your knees, click or tap the screen to watch the tutorial on Part the Wild Horse's mane. If you are new to Tai Chi or would like to build a stronger foundation for your practice, I'll start teaching a beginner Tai Chi set in a few weeks. So be sure to subscribe to the channel and click the bell next to it to get notified. Keep practicing. I'll see you soon.